Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be doing day 3 of LCQ predictions. Day 2 was absolutely crazy. I'm going to be going through a couple of games later today, going through just talking about them. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. And funny enough, bro, they're telling me to get a job with this advert. But bro, get lost. How do they know I'm jobless? Anyways, yeah, this was an absolutely crazy day. So we're going through day 3. There's 4 games to go through, but let's just quickly do a recap on day 2 if you guys missed out on it. So it was absolutely cinema. It was just crazy. We had a crazy Raccoon versus Inner Circle. That wasn't really as close as a game as I imagined. Crazy Raccoon kind of walked away with that one. We also had Upcore versus Navi for the decider match, which of course Navi won 3-1. Totem winning that game. Revenant beating Crazy Raccoon as well. Forgot to even mention. Absolutely crazy. Casa Brawl beating Toxic Lotus. I wouldn't really say that's an upset, but a lot of people did favour Toxic Lotus. So I guess it was a little bit of an upset in a way. And then that banger game, nearly a reverse sweep inside of that game. And then we go on to, wait, I need to drag it over a bit. Group D, we have, it was Papara Supermassive versus Team Electros, which was the first game. We had so many game 5 double match points. It was one of the best days for competitive. And then Team Electros just narrowly beating BC Gaming. So there's a lot of context to go through. You can see by these matchups over here. This is what we've got to look forward to today. Revenant versus Rival Esports, Totem versus Team Electros, Casa Brawl versus Crazy Raccoon, and Papara Supermassive versus Navi. So we've got some real bangers lined up. And let's go through and try and predict them. So in terms of, I don't even want to look at yesterday's prediction scores. How do I look at it? I don't want to see. It's I'm kind of glad that I did predictions pretty late, because there were sort of worse ones I did, but I did say that they had potential to be bad. How do I even look at what they previously were? I mean, it was bad, right? I probably got like 3 right, I think, maybe. It wasn't good. It wasn't the greatest. Anyways, let's move on to today's predictions. So we've got Revenant versus Rival Esports. So this is another one where, okay, I'm maybe going against Revenant too much. In no way have I, in these videos, by the way, said that Revenant are bad. I have never said that at all. And some of the other teams like KDS, Upcore, you know, I've said that they're not the greatest of teams. Revenant, I've never said were bad. I've just gone against them too much. And yeah, I definitely regret that, because Revenant look crazy. I've definitely underestimated them, so my hands are up. But at the same time, I also give them a lot of credit for how good they've been turning up in scrims. They've been looking good in scrims. I've been watching them. They've been looking good. I just didn't know whether they could show it off on LAN, and they definitely can. So, yeah, Revenant, they beat Crazy Raccoon 3-2, so that's a really strong showing from them. They also beat Inner Circle, so they're just looking really good. They're looking really good. They're going in game 5 in both of them. They're looking good in draft. They're looking good with Sergeant. I mean, all players are playing good on Revenant, but Sergeant is just looking final. He is absolutely determined to make it this time around. And then we take a look at Rivals results. So they lost 3-2 versus Toxic Lotus, and then in the decider match, well, they beat NXT in the elimination, and they beat Toxic Lotus in the reversal. They reversed the form. So I feel like Revenant have had the harder group. They beat Crazy Raccoon and Inner Circle. So in terms of form shown at the event, I think last night I was like, am I going to go for Rival? Really? I'm going to go for Revenant, guys. I'm going to go for Revenant. Watch me finally go for Revenant, and it worked against them, okay? And also, I saw some people saying I went Revenant again. I went New Heights Gamer versus Revenant. Yeah, that was just my curveball. I literally said it on the video. That was my curveball. That was my random thing. But it's not going to be right. I told you guys to vote for Revenant. I just wanted, like, you know, one of those moments to be like, oh, bro, he knows. One of them 1% chance moment. It just didn't work. So maybe I just need to stop trying to aura farm. All right. Reply Totem versus Team Electros. So this one would be a lot spicier. I feel like, I mean, no disrespect to like Team Electros now, but I feel like if they had better preparation and they had Bilal on their team, you know, again, Diego game has been insane, but just in terms of like team chemistry and everything, I think this will be a lot closer than people think. But in terms of Totem, they've been flawless. The problem is with Totem, this could work in 2 ways, right? So let's take a look at Totem's results. 3-0 versus Chapter of Happiness, which was just, I don't know, like, I feel like, no disrespect to Chapter of Happiness, I mean, it kind of disrespects in a way, but I probably could have slotted in on that roster and not, like, I could have put up a better fight. And then they beat Navi 3-0. So I think Totem had a really easy group. Although, like, there's still 3-0 swept, which is clean. I think they're not been tested. And on LAN, and especially in this type of environment, I feel like teams that are tested come out just even stronger. That's why I really like Revenant, for example. 3-2, 3-2. That's the sign of a really, really strong team. 3-0, 3-0. They've not been tested to their limits. We don't know if they'll break. So now let's move on to Team Electros. So Team Electros, we can see here. They 3-1 BC Gaming, which they looked pretty good on. And then they lost versus Papara Supermassive with a couple of mistakes, which did prove to be vital in the end. And then we have BC Gaming, Team Electros 3-2, which I was actually really disappointed in Team Electros's showing inside of that game, and I think that's actually going to sway my opinion. If you would have said, like, before the tournament, I think I would have had it a lot closer. And I know I was saying, like, maybe, like, Totem haven't been tested, but I feel like Electros have been tested in not the greatest of groups either, and they struggled against BC Gaming. Again, no disrespect to them, but BC Gaming against KDS, that game that I watched, you can see here, that game that I watched was, like, one of the worst skill showcase of a game that I've ever seen. It was really drastically bad. So then for Team Electros to struggle against BC Gaming when they were in that type of form, I've got to go with a Totem. I'm a EMEA biased guy as well, but I just think Totem look clean. The drafts look good. Drage on the draft. The Angel Boys looking like they're loving moments. Also just looking at how they're playing as well. I think they were really making mistakes. They made a lot of mistakes this year in BSC, and they just looked like their old selves, personally. All right, next game. Casa Brawl versus Crazy Raccoon. So I didn't underestimate Casa Brawl in this game like I said there would be NXT, but I definitely underestimated, and everyone did, versus Toxic Lotus. They've got the home crowd buff. They're really good players. Like I said, they've got good LAN experience. They're good players. They've had a bad year, a really bad year, so that was probably swaying my opinion, but obviously their preparation has been good. Obviously they perform better on LAN, which I won't really feel like that's much of a deciding factor when you talk about Brawl Esports, because it is a mobile game at the end of the day. Like, the LAN experience is definitely a lot more vital in other esports, but maybe for Brawl it's starting to become a thing. So Casa Brawl, they're looking pretty good. And Crazy Raccoon, to be fair, I know you can't really doubt Crazy Raccoon, but I don't think they're looking nowhere near like themselves, guys. They're not. I mean, they're still looking good, but they're not looking the crazy, like the scary Crazy Raccoon that we've seen in the past in terms of like their draft. Like the skill level's still pretty good, but there's some cracks. There definitely are some cracks. We've seen it all year. I think Na'Vi finished above Crazy Raccoon in the regular BSC season, so just going to show they can be beat. They can be beat. But Revenant did put out a masterclass display and beat them 3-2, and then Crazy Raccoon beat Inner Circle 3-1, which I don't think Crazy Raccoon had to play crazy strong. I think Inner Circle's drafting was just like really bad, where it was to the point where, like, normally Crazy Raccoon or just a lot of East Asian teams aren't actually that good at drafting, and normally you can beat them purely at draft, and that's normally EMEA's strong suit. So I don't know what went wrong with Inner Circle. The draft was absolutely terrible. So yeah, this would be a lot closer than you think, guys, because of the home crowd buff. Would it be crazy to say Casa Brawl? I think on paper I've got to go with Crazy Raccoon. I just can't imagine Tensai not qualifying for World Finals. I couldn't imagine it. I couldn't imagine it. So I'm going to go with Crazy Raccoon. Right, moving on to the final game then. So I think I'm quite clear about this decision, even though it could be painful to doubt East Asia here. So let's take a look at the form quickly here. We take a look at it. So we see Na'Vi. Na'Vi's route to the final is against Upcore. They 3-1 Upcore, which Upcore actually surprised me a little bit. They actually had an alright performance, especially against them in the decider match. But Na'Vi versus Totem, I just thought there was maybe like one moment where Na'Vi could have maybe like pinched a set, but I just wasn't really impressed at all by Na'Vi's performance. Again, no disrespect to the players on Na'Vi's team, but Charpe is such a sensational player and is in the history books in Brawl Esports, but I just don't know if they have the level that they previously had. I mean, again, I could be wrong about this, but also I was pleasantly surprised by Supermassive. I've always liked the Supermassive guys. I think one thing that was holding me back from predicting them against, I think I predicted Team Electros, was also their preparation. It didn't look like they had the most preparation, and I was just like, maybe this can go NA's favor, especially with how messy draft is. But 3-2, I'm definitely glad to be wrong about that. And yeah, they look really, really good there, by the way. Like, I was so impressed in the first 2 sets with Sub's overall gameplay. So I think I don't need to waffle too much about this game. I'm going to go with Papara Supermassive. I think they are the favorites there. So if we go through the odds of who I think are like more likely to win, I would have maybe Revenant 55%, maybe even like 52%. Like, it's a very close game here. Rival actually look like the best team in scrims at the moment, and Revenant look like the best team on LAN. They're looking actually like the best team at this event, crazy enough. So that'll be a really close game. That'll be a banger game. Totem versus Team Electros. EU versus NA is always a banger matchup. In terms of percentages, I'm going to go like 60-40 Totem, mainly because Totem just look a lot cleaner. The draft looks a little bit sorted. No, Team Electros's preparation was very sketchy, with Rafiki coming in very late, and of course Diego Gamer subbing him. So I just think there's a few cracks there, unfortunately for them, and their showing against BC Gaming was pretty drastic, although they've got a lot of excuses. So yeah, Totem, I think, are favourites there. Crazy Raccoon versus Casa. I think, again, this is like a 60-40. Maybe a little bit more Crazy Raccoon. Because Casa Brawl, they've not been looking good all year. I think Crazy Raccoon haven't either. Casa Brawl have the home advantage, and their crowd has been insane. So that could give them maybe an extra 5%. But Crazy Raccoon are definitely favourites there. And then Papara Supermassive versus Na'Vi. I think, again, this is like... I know Papara haven't had like the craziest LAN experience, whilst Na'Vi have, but Na'Vi, I think, have missed out on Worlds 2 years in a row. I think Achape has at LCQ. I believe they lost to Toxic Lotus last year, and they lost, I can't remember who they lost to the year before, but they've been pretty disappointing at LCQs. And Papara Supermassive, especially with Enraged, he's been looking insane. Filippo and Kaze been looking really good, and Tomsy as well with Hank and a few other brawlers. I was really pleasantly surprised there at their level at LAN. So I'm going to submit that. Hopefully that's going to be 4 out of 4. Like I said, some really close games. I don't really see... I'm not entirely confident about any of them. If anything, I'm more confident about Papara Supermassive here out of all of these, which is kind of crazy to say. Right. That's going to be it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to watch my stream later today. I'm going to be going through all of these on stream live for you guys. But yeah, that's going to be it. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.